Hello everyone and welcome to today's Daily Splat. Now this is the third of our Premier League prediction preview videos. Today we're going to be looking at Blackburn Rovers, but before we start, an additional point I have to make on the Aston Villa video. I neglected to mention yesterday what position I think Villa will finish in the table. Obviously I said I think I have already mentioned that in the Arsenal video that I sat down and did a prediction of what all the results would be, and therefore what the final results in the table will be. And I said that Arsenal in my table finished second in the standings, and I've got Aston Villa down as finishing 8th, so doing quite well despite some of the gloom and doom that I mentioned. I seem to think they'll do all right. Okay, moving on now to Blackburn Rovers. A very difficult season last year. The Venkies came in and bought the club, then sacked Sam Allardyce. Reportedly, the main reason for their frustration was that shortly after buying the club, they invited a load of their friends round to watch the team take on Manchester United at Old Trafford and promptly see them get thrashed 7-1. Sam Allardyce was gone shortly afterwards, and so that meant that they had to get a new manager in. Steve Keane was appointed, a relative unknown at the time, and managed to keep them up, although they seemed to be on course under Sam Allardyce to be staying up much more comfortably than they ended doing. So, well, what do they need? Well, they need some money from their new owners to buy players. Now, when they first came in, there was all this talk that in the January transfer window they'd be bringing in the likes of Ronaldinho to the club. Of course, that all turned out to just be guff, and no such big names were brought in, and it doesn't look like any big names are going to be brought in at the moment. Indeed, they have lost one of their most promising players, Phil Jones, who's joined Manchester United for a reported £16 million. They've yet to use that money. They have only brought in one player whose name is just down here. His name is Miles Anderson. He's agreed a move to Blackburn, 2-year contract. He is 20 years old, and he is the son of Jerome Anderson, who is an advisor to the Rovers owners, the Venkies. So perhaps a connection there, just looking down. He made his debut for Aberdeen in a 5-0 win over Kilmarnock, so he has played a little bit of football, but not a lot. It doesn't exactly inspire confidence. Now, he could turn out to be an amazing player, but it remains to be seen. The point is that Blackburn aren't making the right moves in the transfer market, and quite frankly, although they haven't really lost many players, Benjani's officially gone, he's not coming back, but that said, he's not really been there anyway. The fact is that the Blackburn team just isn't that good. Going into the last day of the season, they could have been relegated. As it was, they beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 3-2, and so they stayed up. But they're going to need to improve a hell of a lot, and I don't think they will. However, I don't think they're going to be relegated. But if they're not careful, they could very well be. I've predicted that Blackburn Rovers will be finishing 16th in the overall standings, and I believe only about 5 points off the relegation places is where it ended up. So definitely an area of improvement needed at Blackburn. How would I recommend improving them? They've got a fairly good base of players. Paul Robinson in nets is quite good. He is of a Premier League standard. Christopher Samba, if they can keep hold of him, that is vital. A couple of their players who were coming through last season looked quite good. Olsen certainly looked very promising. Hoyle was also quite good. I believe it was Julian Hoyle. He looked quite promising. What Blackburn need is forwards. If they can find another Alan Shearer, obviously that's the ideal thing. But the matter of the fact is they're not going to be able to attract an absolutely outstanding world-class talent unless they discover him, unless they go out and find Javier Hernandez like Manchester United did the season before. Go out and find somebody virtually no one has heard of, get him, he becomes a major talent, lifts them up the table, and they can get them better players that way. It's going to be very, very difficult for Blackburn Rovers this season. I do think they are one of the main candidates for relegation, but just because Steve Keane is such an inexperienced manager. However, he does show promising signs, and I do think that now that they've put him in, he needs to be given a chance. And chances are, if they are in the relegation zone anywhere near Christmas time, he'll be gone. Which, there'll then be a lot of criticism with people going, well, why did you sack Sam Allardyce? Blah, 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 that sort of thing. So we'll have to wait and see. So, overall, Blackburn Rovers, it doesn't look like it's going to be a great season. However, of course, there's still over a month until the transfer window closes, and despite that lack of action, you never know, they might end up with a few players. They have been linked with Nico Crankjar, who's unhappy about the lack of game time he's getting at Tottenham, and he certainly would be a very useful addition to that Rovers team. Okay, that is it for Blackburn Rovers, who I think, I think they'll finish 16th, and that is our third team done. Join me tomorrow when we will be talking about Bolton Wanderers. Until then, bye-bye.